We're at the Seattle Retro Gaming Expo in Bellevue, Washington. I'm your host, Andrew Lynch. Welcome to 4Geeks Media. There's a Spice Girls video game, and I'm going to find it.
Well, this is our second annual show, so we're still kind of in our infancy. But really, it's all about the community. It's all about the gamers. It's all about having fun.
What I want to find out in this episode is what people miss the most about retro gaming and what they'd like to see different in new gaming, and above all, what a perfect game would be. So, Jose, what do you miss most about retro video games?
Basically just being able to pick up an old retro controller, just get in front of the TV and just trying to beat any of the bosses.
Playing the stand-up arcade games, definitely, because usually if you're doing that, you're with your friends and you can all mash buttons together, and pinball is super fun. And there's something about the face-to-face interaction with a kind of a gimpy old system that makes it more fun.
Being in the same living room. Like, there's too much online stuff these days. Like, I like online stuff, but I also like being in the same living room, hanging out with my buddies, playing games.
There's a pick up and play aspect to a lot of the older stuff that you can just get right into. You don't have to worry about a billion buttons or like figuring out what the control scheme is for anything.
A retro video game, I really miss the multiplayer within the room. That's the biggest thing, because so many games now you have to be online and it's still only in your own living room or in your bedroom or your, closeted fort of gamedom.
I'm glad to hear you also made little forts and played video games in them.
It's the type of thing that you pick up and play for 20 minutes and have fun with.
I gotta agree with Bill, the simplicity of retro gaming.
Well, definitely the nostalgia. Like, they just don't, I don't know, they just don't have what they used to have.
What is that?
I miss cartridges.
You can't beat what you grew up with. It's just like the classic stuff. It makes you think about kind of just like, I don't know, it makes me think about hanging out with my brothers, like, beating up on each other, playing like Mortal Kombat or...
Which Mortal Kombat?
I don't know, I was really little. I think it was Sega? Is that right?
It would have been the original or two then, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the era when retro gaming came out, a lot of people were the age of imagination. You're between 8 and 15 when you're playing all of these games, and now that you're older, you miss the feeling that you had when you were a kid. So I actually have faith that the kids now who are playing all of the newer systems and being online, they're going to have that same nostalgia in just 10 or 20 years.
Like the old arcade mentality of playing with strangers in person. I thought that was really where it was at, where you'd actually meet somebody and get to know them a little bit, even if it was just for a few minutes over, a couple quarters in one machine or whatever. It was cool to get to meet different people and sort of have the social experience that I think is gone from a lot of gaming now.
And then I remember back in the day, like, The Little Mermaid on the original
system?
Nintendo. Yeah, it's really that whole nostalgia thing.
Where it wasn't always about graphics, it was much more about gameplay. And that just is a little bit lost nowadays, without everything being almost interactive movies as opposed to just straight up point-based video games.
So what's your favorite retro video game, if you had to pick one?
I would have to go with, I love Donkey Kong.
Arcade Donkey Kong, or did you play it on the NES? Or is there a difference?
There is a difference, but I just like the SNES version. Donkey Kong 1, Donkey Kong 2, and Donkey Kong 3.
Probably Dig Dug.
Why Dig Dug?
Because I love it and I own an arcade cab of it.
Splatterhouse was a horror game, and basically throughout the entire game you picked up. It was like the craziest side-scroller that you could have possibly imagined, and it was too far ahead of its time because it was like, oh, we're going to put this M-rated title on the Turbo Graphics.
Of all time, it would be Legend of Zelda series.
The original or just the whole series in general?
The original, and then also A Link to the Past. That's also one of my favorites.
Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom. It's just the greatest game ever made.
How is The Little Mermaid as a video game? Is it the nostalgia, or is it actually good and underrated and we need to check it out?
I think it might be the nostalgia for that one.
One of my all-time favorites is probably Contra for the NES.
Oh, yes.
One of the most amazing.
Can you beat Contra without the Konami code? Because I can't.
Difficult. Very difficult.
Do you know anyone who can?
Oh, I can't even remember if I've done it. But 2-player, it's doable. one player, that's pretty
No,
brutal.
you can't do it.
I am really good at Galaga, so I enjoy that one.
Super Mario Bros, Ice Climber, it's just the black box games.
I actually played Darkwing Duck a lot.
I'm a big fan of the Double Dragon series. I'm a brawler guy.
Double Dragon 1 or 2?
2.
2 is better.
Two. I like chucking guys out of helicopters and
Yeah.
you know and beating up all the different Obobos and such.
I gotta go with Kung Fu on the NES. That was just a fantastic game. I played that game just like an ungodly number of hours.
So what would the perfect video game contain? One aspect of the perfect video game.
Gotta have RPG elements in it. Cross with maybe platforming and a shmup.
And a shmup?
Yeah, shooter up.
I like Spyro because I could make the sheep catch on fire and eat their butterflies.
You think new games need more dragons burning sheep?
Maybe.
Skyrim enough? Because you can shout sheep off of a mountain, which is my favorite part of the game.
I haven't played that game yet.
You can shout sheep off of a mountain.
Obviously, you've got to get the 3D going on where you can pretend that you're in the game, which is what hopefully we'll get to.
Definitely more multiplayer that's not online.
Cutscene. Move on to the next level. Fight the alien horde.
I think the big developers, can definitely learn something from the little guys. The independent, developers really like to stick with that core element of what brought older games, retro games, into the light. So, such as 2D platforming or basic RPG elements. I think that's one of the biggest things that modern games can definitely take from, and we see plenty of examples of that.
What are some examples?
Oh, some of the great examples. One of my personal favorites is actually it's a game called Retro City Rampage, and
I met the guy who designed that game, and I interviewed him in an earlier episode actually.
It's so awesome. Yeah, those guys, they've been at it for 6 years now, and he wants to make the perfect 8-bit parody game, and it's examples like that. It's games like that are just awesome, and it really makes me proud that just based on their passion and based on their fandom of what they used to love and play and still do actually, they present it in a form of art in a new game.
I just think all the new video games, it's just Call of Duty this, Halo this, Modern Warfare this, so it's just the same thing over and over, so retro video games are still fun to play and there's something new.
So it turns out everyone's favorite video game would involve a large basement filled with a bunch of people and shmup.
And a shmup.
Most likely a side-scroller. Now, while I failed to get the Spice Girls video game, which I was looking for, I did manage to get something even better. The Bible game. Hopefully it involves most of the Old Testament, because that's the good one with all the violence. For 4Geeks Media, I am Andrew Lynch. Keep it geeky.